Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is lecture number 13 and this is your lecturer Rabia Mahmood with the course History of English Language. Let's start today with the formation of new words. Actually, before this we were discussing our Middle English period and we were looking at how many influences were there and how many different things have contributed towards the change and development of English. Let's see that how different words were formed, how different new words were formed in Middle English period, and how the English, what was the shape of the English that English acquired later on in this period. Actually, before this we have also looked at in detail the syntactical structures, all the languages that have contributed towards the development and the new shape of this language, English language. And with this we'll be resuming our lecture, our previous lecture, rather we'll be resuming our previous topic and we'll be discussing a bit of formation of new words, and then we'll see that how these new words have formed into one language, and then how many different dialects of the new modernized English were there at that time after or in the Middle English period. Formation of new words. The first component of the formation of new words is compounding. Compounding is basically, this word is derived from compound, where one or two components, they come together, they come close to each other, and then they make some new word. We'll say that how different new words were formed by the method of or by the device of compounding. Mostly nouns and adjectives have been traced out in the Middle English period. For example, the nouns, a few examples of the nouns are as follows. The first one is noun plus noun. For example, cheese, cake. It's one word, it's a compound word. Compound word is a combination of two complete words, and the two separate words come close and they made a compound in a sense that it would give one meaning. For example, the word cheesecake. Cheesecake, look at this cheesecake. Actually, as we can very well see, the cheesecake is a combination of two nouns. On the first hand there is noun and then there is another noun, so it is a combination of n plus n, that is noun plus noun, so it is a compound word. The next example is given is that of toadstool, bagpipe, nightmare. Night and mare, the two nouns are coming close to make one word. Bagpipe is again noun plus noun, and toadstool is again noun plus noun. Adjectives plus nouns. For example, the first it is we can say these are those type of compound words where the first word is that of adjective. Adjective is a word that qualifies the habits of that qualifies the noun itself. The first will have adjective and then will have the noun. Look at the word sweetheart, a very common word. It is basically a compound word, and it is a combination of sweet, that is an adjective, and heart is a noun, so it is adjective plus noun and makes one compound word. Wildfire. Wildfire, yes, it is. Wild is from wild. Wild is an adjective, and fire is a noun, adjective plus noun. Quicksand. Quicksand is adjective plus noun. Yes, then the next category within the nouns is that of adverbs plus nouns. Adverbs are the words that qualify nouns. For examples, the first look at the compound word is insight. Look at this word insight. Insight is a combination of in plus sight. In is an adverb that is enhancing the qualities of a noun. So it is adverb plus noun. Afternoon. Afternoon is again after is a combination of an adverb, whereas noon is a noun. So afternoon, adverb plus noun. And then another example that we found is that of up, land. Up is the adverb and land is a noun. So it is again a combination of a plus an, and it makes compound. And we see that how different things have combined with each other to make it the compound words. Yes, noun plus verb. The next category is, and this was new to Middle English period. Firstly, we see that there is sun. The word sun, as all of us know, that it's a noun, and shine. Shine is a verb. So a very new combination, a very unique combination is that of noun plus verb, and same unique combination is that of adverb plus noun. Adverb, we most of the time think that adverbs and verbs, these are not related to the nouns, but yet in these examples we are finding that how compounding has forced them to come close and to form new words. The next is nosebleed. The word nose, as all of us know, it's a noun, and bleed is a verb. It's noun plus verb. Then verb plus noun. This was also new in Middle English period. And look at, for example, the word hang man. Hang is a verb. Hang, as all of us know, and man is a noun. So it's a combination of verb plus noun. Pastime. The word pastime. Past and time. Actually, it's an assimilated word where T, the repetition of double T was not allowed. So only one time, pastime, T is written, and as well as past is a verb and time is a noun. It collectively makes a compound word, that is pastime. The next is whirlwind. Whirlwind, whirl is a verb and wind is a noun. It's a combination of verb plus noun. Okay, then verb plus adverb. It is run about. It was again a very new category that added to the development of English, in the modern English, in the Middle English period. For example, the words like run about. Run is a verb and about is an adverb. So it's a combination of verb plus adverb. The new words are found through compound. The next is lean to. Lean to, as it is referring to, it is modifying the meanings of lean. So to is referring back to lean, and so in this way it would be a compound word having the components of verb and adverb. The next is adverb plus verb. Outcome, outcast, and upset. Outcome. Out is an adverb, come is a verb, out is again an adverb, and cast is a verb, up is an adverb, and set is a verb. So the combination of verb and adverb, and it makes up compounds. French and Latin compounds were also found. For example, nouns plus adjectives, and the examples that are given are that of finished, errant, here, apparent, sum total. These are some of the Latin words. These are the Latin compound words, and they are a combination of nouns plus adjectives. Then some other compounds were also found in the form of adjectives. For example, nouns plus adjectives. The first example would be threadbare. Thread is, as all of us know, that is a noun, and bare is an adjective. So it's a noun plus adjective and makes up a compound word. And the next is blood red. Blood is a noun, red is an adjective. It's a combination of noun plus adjective. Headstrong. Head is a noun and strong is an adjective. And in the same case, adjective plus noun means a reverse thing would be there. rare day or every day. Every is an adjective and day is a noun. So we see that how with a combination of different words, different adjectives have also been found. Then verbs, that is a combination of adverbs plus verb. Adverb would be, for example, in the word outline, the word out is adverb, whereas in line is verb. Outline is a compound word made of adverb plus verb. The next is uphold. Up is adverb and hold is verb. Up and hold, it is a compound word, a combination of adverb plus verb. The next is overturn. Over is an adverb and turn is a verb. Overturn is a combination of, is an emblem of compound words, and it is a beautiful combination of adverb plus verb. Then underwrite. Under is an adverb and write is a verb. Underwrite makes adverb plus verb combination in a compound word. Then there is another example within the verb is that of nouns plus verbs. It was again a new category they were found. For example, look at the word manhandle. Yes, manhandle. Man is a noun and handle is a verb. Manhandle makes noun plus verb category, and it makes some new words. There are some invisible compounds as well. For example, cockney. Cockney is a combination of cock plus egg. Yes. Gossamer. Gossamer is a combination of goose plus summer. Again the two words, but they have been assimilated in a way that their spellings have changed, and a few of them are in the original position, whereas a few of the words have already been changed. Compounds treated as single words as well. For example, the words like dismal. It is a Latin word and it comes from dies, whereas dies melly, and it makes evil days. Dismal is a combination. This word I am talking about, dismal, it actually is coming from dies and melly, and it overall it means evil days in Latin. And then porcupine. Porcupine is a French word, and it is a combination of pork and then aspen, and it means spingy pig. This was another French word that was found there. Okay, the next category of about the formation of the new words is that of affixing, where you affix something. For example, some Old English affixes were also lost in Middle English period. For example, the affix like ed. Again, it was replaced by the re. Okay, ed, it was replaced by this word re. With means against, it was replaced by the counter. Okay, then L, for example, foreign, it was replaced by YMB, yam, means around or to the motion towards, and end towards the agent nouns. These were some of the affixes that have already been changed. There is survival in the pre-existing words, for example, withstand, forsake, and motherhood, etc. New affixes from French. There were some new affixes that have also been added in the Middle English period in the English language. Some prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes are those words that are added before, are those morphemes that are added before the full word, and suffixes are those words that are added towards the end of the words. For example, prefixes, the word counter, d, in, not, intermolry, cont'd in, counter, d in, counted in. The word counter has been is a prefix to d and the in, and then intermolry, inter are also some of the affixes that can come before the words. For example, look at the example of counter. there is one word that is known as counterpart. Counter is coming as prefix to the word part. Okay, then let's come to suffixes and see that how these have changed. Suffixes are related to able. For example, this can be able, h, l, ra, sa, ify, ist, and ity. Meant is still used but not likely for native roots. For example, discernment, containment, understandment, non-meant. These are different words that are used with the suffix meant. With this suffix, for example, there are some words like preferable. In preferable, able is a suffix to prefer, and then in the word age, for example, the word percentage, percent is age is a suffix to percent. Okay, then the word personal, it is al is a suffix to the word person. Okay, and then the word ary, for example, customary, ari is a suffix to the word custom. Okay, then the next is s, for example, kindness. S is a suffix to the word kind. Okay, and so the things continue for long. These are the suffix, and by prefix, suffix, and affixes we can make a lot of new words. Yes, then some minor sources of the new words were also there. For example, the minor sources like clipping, and this where the new words were found by removing some of the syllables. For example, fray. In affray we removed the syllables and found the word fray. And then squire, within the word esquire, a is removed and the syllable squire is found. Stress and distress and stress. Then amend and mend, a is removed and we found mend. And then appeal and peel, by removing some of the syllables, some new words were also found. A very interesting fact to know. Okay, then back formation, coining a word by mistakenly assuming that an existing word is derived from it. For example, the Latin word aspis, it was mistakenly assumed that perhaps sing has come from this word, so it was equal to asp. Then Old Norse, the word foggy has been derived from fog, and it was misunderstood perhaps, and it was actually not from that. Then dawning, again a misunderstood in Old English period, that it has been drawn from the word dawn. Then some other minor sources are the number one, blends. Sometimes you would some different words are blended in such a way that they form new words. For example, deliberate in the modern English period and unconscious in the Middle English periods. They are blended in such a beautiful way. And then, for example, look at the words scroll. Scroll is a good combination of escrow plus roll. Escrow plus roll. And then the next is scroll. Scroll is a combination of sprout plus scroll. Then quaver is a combination of quack plus weaver. So from there are some words in the Middle English or even in our today's English that have been found from the names. For example, J, it comes from gaze. Latin name gaze. Okay, jacket. It comes from French word, and the actual origin is jacques. Good, interesting to know. Okay, the word magnet. Magnet comes from magnesia. Scallion, it comes from Escalo, this name. Damson, it comes from Damascus, the name Damascus. Now, while we have looked into the details that how new words in English are found, so if Words are found, definitely words are going to combine up, they are going to build up a great vocabulary bank, and then this vocabulary bank is going to turn into a complete dialect, the complete language with a very acceptable one. Let's see that how which were the Middle English dialects that were present, and what is Caxton and printing, and how there was an emergence of a standard English period. Middle English dialects, look that the different places for the English. The one was Cambridge, Oxford, London. These are the three main places of English by that time. Studying Middle English dialects, Linguistic Atlas of Late Middle English 1350 to 1450. Late time period means lots of texts were there. According to Atlas, almost any Middle English written before 1430 considered dialectal by the definition. Okay, a new aspect to this is that anything that is written Middle English, that is almost any written before 1430, it is considered as dialectal by definition. Anything that was written, anything, not necessarily the language, not necessarily the spoken material, rather anything that was written was regarded as dialectal before 1430. But some regions have more written documents than others. Northern and the North Midland English, very few sources before 1350 are found, as we have studied that there were not very much written record of the English language that was found in that era. Southern England, lots of material from 14th century on it came. There are some dot maps. Dot maps would show where in area, country, region, etc. a certain spelling or pronunciation is used. Fine, we are in the next slide, we are going to look at the dot maps, and we are going to find out that how dot maps are referring to different things. Each dot map displays the distribution of the set of forms specified in the map's caption. Okay, it is quite clear. Places where each form has been found represented by the black dots. Okay, 3 dot sizes are actually, you would see, are the one would be large size, the second would be medium, and then the third would be small size, reflecting how dominant the particular form is in the given place. There are lots of statistical variation that are found in it. Just look at the dot maps. Yes, there are, as you see in the second, that is dot map for the type, th type, we found a lot of dots in the map, and then there are very less dots in the first and the second map. Then there were so many dots that are found again in the third, that we found. It means that this map, and this map, these are the good dot maps that have a lot of representation of English language. Middle English dialects and the basics, heavily generalized. Let's see what were them. The first one is, we are going to talk about northerns. Much North settlements reconquered by the English in early 10th century. All North settlements learned English quickly, badly. Yes, although they learned it very, very quickly, the learning was going on as they were having interaction with the people. So definitely the learning of English was going on, but still it was really very, very bad. Perhaps because there was a rapid development of the things. When one thing is developing so rapidly and very, very quickly, there is definitely, if one thing is growing, definitely the second thing is decreasing. So there was a decay of the inflections at that time. For example, look at different words. This is they, them, their, with ya and for the, and spelling variants were also found. There is and there are some southern words, hey, ham, ha. These were again the variations that were found. Then the verbs in, for example, s and not, Affixing, and then n, plural words, he loves, they love, loven. Then the present participle, Gonnet and going. Brat is a historical poem. These were different northern dialects that were found. Then Middle English dialects, and thus we are talking about the basic dialects, and look at some East and West Midlands. The northern dialects show that perhaps most of them are not understandable at this position of time. Let's look at how were the East and West Midlands content, how were their dialects, and let's see whether we can understand a few of the words or not. The first is an. In the plural verbs, they leaven. In the plural words, in the plural verbs, actually there was a characteristic that it was used as leaven. They leaven. They, n means they love. They ham here in the third person plural. He shall ham call. Okay, then about the West Midland, see what were the things. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, Paul, Purse, Plowman. There are so many things that we can understand that, and even we can read it. Then East Midland, actually there were two famous people who were there in that time. Geoffrey Chaucer, one of the greatest founder, we can say greatest poet ever of English literature. Perhaps why we are referring to Geoffrey Chaucer in our this thing, because Chaucer has used the dialects, a special kind of language that is perhaps a replica of the Old English language. Middle English dialects. In southern dialects, while we look at this, there is a persistence of j sound. He shall say, then write to Christian man. Heo, ho for she, it was used, these two words, heo and ho, this was used for the she, and then hey and hem here in the third person plural. There was also another feature, and that was voicing of fricatives. All the fricatives is actually while you pronounce some consonants, they produce friction in the production of the airflow. For example, there is a friction. There is a friction while you are producing these words. So there was voicing of fricatives that was allowed at that time. For and vor. For, while you would speak for, you would see, you would feel that the vocal cords, that your vocal cords, they come in vibration, that you would feel a bit of vibration there. For and vor. Second pronounced zayin. Them in most verbs is used as plural verb. Then there are some more examples. Let's move on to the next thing. Middle English dialects and some southeastern contribution. Let's see that what were these. Were to the southern with some vowel differences. This was almost the same as the things were given by the south, but there were a little bit differences, and the differences were found in vowel sounds. For example, hey, hem, here in third person plural, and they were voiced fricatives as well. For example, war. There are no major literary texts that are found from this region of the country. Then we are going to look at the rise of the London Standard. Actually, this is the beginning of the standard English right now. Let's see that how did it rise, and what were the things, what were the major components that have made it come up to the standard, to the accepted standard as of English. Let's look at 14th and 15th century. The written standard was there, the spoken variation was there, but not complete variation like today. Yes, at that time, in 14th to 15th of century, actually there was some written standard that was maintained. There were spoken variation of the language that were found, but as you know, as today's language is too much variant, people people give so much variation even when they are using a single language. So although the variations were there, but yet these were not that much very diversified as we find in today's world. But in the real world, variation in both written and spoken language is needed. Yes, if we are saying that there are some standards, there are some rules, there are some procedures that are applied on certain things. So how can that be possible? Do you think that this thing would give a rise to the creativity? No, perhaps it won't. If you are going to make some kind of standard, if you are going to fix the things, if you are going to implement so many rules and regulations and principles on certain things, do you think that it can grow up, it can rise up? No, perhaps it is not that much easy. Actually, written standard was all right, but still for the real world language, both written and spoken languages were needed. East Midland dialect gradually merged with the London. East Midland, that was a bit similar to London one. They came close, they started merging, and they started then rising. Reasons for the rise of London standard. There were different reasons. The first reason is that of middle dialects, middle position between north and south. Actually, middle, while we are talking about the midland dialects, it means they were literally the dialects, they were literally the language that was spoken in the midlands. Midlands, which lands? In the north and the south. They come in the mid place, and these were the languages that were spoken. Actually, a few of the people from the south would know this, a few of the people from north would also know this. So the language of midland was known by these people. Then there is southern dialect, were very conservative. They were slow to change. Yes, although southern dialect, what was the quality of this southern dialect? They were very, very conservative, and conservative things, the typical things are really very hard to change. Northern were very, very radical, and they were quick to change. Midlands in between, workable compromise. Excellent. This was actually the condition. On one hand there is rigidity, on one hand there is so much flexibility, whereas while both of them come in the midlands, they come and they start actually compromising the things. If one is too much efficient, the other is too much lazy, so they are coming together for the sake of their common interest, so they would sort out some workable compromise. Yes, the next is East Midlands. We have just talked about firstly Midland dialects, and then we are looking also at the East Midland dialects. East Midlands, they are the largest, most populous area. They were fertile, they were prosperous, they were agricultural areas. So agricultural areas, it means they were prosperous. They were larger, wealthier population was there, politically important throughout the Middle Ages and afterwards. East Midland was really very, very prosperous, powerful, economically it was really very, very strong. So it definitely had a great influence on the emergence of the standard dialect of London. Then the third reason was that of the influence of Oxford and Cambridge. Oxford and Cambridge, these two were another influences that were being done on English language in 14th century. Role of monasteries decreasing, two universities rapidly developing. Cambridge at least would support East Midland dialects. Yes, there were the different monasteries that were already created in the Old English period. Their role was decreasing as the time was getting ahead, as England was getting prosperous. So what happened? There were the two universities, the two world famous universities. The one is Oxford and the other one is Cambridge. Both were coming in power and monasteries were going down. And then because of this, Cambridge and Oxford, they actually they started one university, that was Cambridge. It started supporting Midland dialects. There were some other reasons, and the fourth reason is the role of Chaucer. who is popular in his day, popular throughout the 15th century. Although he was not basically from 15th century, he was a poet of the Old English era, yet he was too much famous in this century as well. But he was slightly more conservative, a little more conservative. He was southern than London dialect. He would rather more give emphasis to the rigidity or the conservativeness of the olden times, but yet he was actually too much influential. He was too much popular among the people, so his things getting spreading. The next reason is the role of London as a capital city. Role of London as a capital city is again very important role it played. The first reason of its role is that of political and commercial center of England. We're not generally talking about the England, rather we are talking about London. London was the capital city, and see what was the role of this London city in the emergence of standard dialect. Dialect is, I hope that is the concept of dialect is very clear up till now. Let me repeat it once again for your clarification, that dialect is a regional variety of a language, regional variety that is spoken in a specific region or the specific land or specific area in a society is known as a dialect. While we are talking about London dialect, it means that it was being spoken, it was a regional variety of London, and not only of London, rather of its suburban areas as well. Yes. We were looking at the role of London as a capital city. The first role of London as a capital city was that of political and commercial center of England. England was the political and commercial center. Politically, it was in the eyes of the people. Politically, it was very strong. It had the kings, it had the queens, it has the kingdom in it. And then commercially, it was the center of the whole England. Commercially means from the point of view of marketing, from the point of view of the trade. It has linkages. It has so many industries in it. It was a seat of the royal court, law courts, social and intellectual activity. Yes, London had a seat of the royal court. As I told you, that the king and the queens were there. It had the law courts, the laws courts were also there. It has social intellectual activity. It has social activity in the sense that as it was a center of commercialism, it was a center of trade. People used to come here, used to do trade here, and it was actually intellectual activity was going on. As I've told you that the universities were rising, the academia was rising. Academically, the people of London was very strong. It was a city of intellectuals as well at the time. Then another reason is that of true in other languages. There is actually Parisian French that was spoken at the time, then Castilian Spanish. This Spanish is that of Madrid Spanish was also spoken. There were some, it was actually a London, as we have already studied, that there were so much inhabitants, there were so many troops that have been invading London again and again in the history. So London was not only that of Britishers, it was there were the inhabitants of so many languages. Yes, there were the inhabitants of so many languages, and much movement of the people into and out of the city was there. Government officials go out on business, others go to London on business. Yes, actually, as it was the center, it was the heart of England at that time, so it was a kind of source of communication as well. People used to trade from here. from here to the abroad. People used to go out for the sake of business, and people used to come to London for the business, because it was commercially, economically very, very strong at the time. Local speeches mix together to form a new combination. Visitors take away the influence of London speech, and then the standard spreads. Yes, see that how the things were being done. Local speeches mixed together to form a new combination. There were, as I told you, there were many of the languages that were spoken in the areas of London, in different areas of London. They used to definitely, the people of the same city or the same communities, they started interacting with each other when there was so much interaction, and these local speeches mixed together. They actually mixed together. They mixed together, and they not only mixed together, rather they absorbed, they lost themselves into them in a way that to form a new combination. It formed a new combination, a new thing, and a totally new language was made perhaps. Visitors take away the influence of London speech. The visitors who used to come to London for their business purposes, when they used to go back, they used to take with them the taste of this London speech, a new speech that was arising out of the combination of many of the words and many of the languages. And definitely when somebody is coming, is trading, interacting with the people, learning a few of the words of the language, and then leaving that place and going away, and then where that person moves, where that person go, that person is going to spread it. It is going to be, it is being spreaded into the things. Visitors take away the influence of London speech, and the standard spreads. It began as a southern dialect, ended up more or less East Midlands. Yes, it began as southern dialect. Firstly, the southern, it was regarded as the name of the southern dialect, and it ended up more or less East Midlands. It was somewhat like that of East Midlands. Actually, as I've already told you, that Midlands was a place that was between the north and the south, and definitely these two things were coming close to each other to do the few things, to interact with each other, and they were learning the language, and they were influencing each other's language. Then some other reasons for the rise of the London Standard, and the next reason is that of Chancery Government Writing Office. Government Writing Office was another big contribution in the rise of the standard dialect of English. By 1450, it had developed a consistent variety of London English. Look, almost towards the end of the 15th century, there was already a very developed variety of London English that was found, and the language of the official Jews influenced other writing as well. Definitely, you know, the language that is a medium of instruction in the country, or the language that is the language of official government, is a powerful language, is a language in power. So it was a language of official Jews and influenced other writing as well. Now, it started spreading from the official Jews to some other things. Then reasons for the rise of London Standard are the next very important reason are that of Caxton and printing. Caxton is a fast printer in English. It is Caxton, to remember, is a fast printer in English. Why it was very much important? Because it was very much important because before this, the things that were written, they could not get published. With the exploration of, or with the invention of printing press, the things started getting published. The masses started getting access to the material. So let's see that what is written. I was born and learnt mine English in Kent in the Weald, where I doubt not is spoken as broad or rude and rude English as is in any place of England. Let's see. Can you please trace a few of the differences of this English, this Middle English dialect, and the English that we are spoken right now? Let's read it once again, and let's see that how that what are the words that are quite new in this. I was born and learned mine English in Kent in the Weald, where I doubt not is spoken as broad and rude English as in any place of England. Look, it's more than half, it's more than one third. More than one third of the language has been changed up till now. This word learned, it has different spellings. It has different spelling. English has different spellings. Kent and Weald are the names, they have different spellings. Doubt has different spellings. Broad has different spellings. English has different spellings. Any and England. So what we are noticing, it's on which level of language? It's on morphological level of language. It is, or we can also say that it is orthography. Orthography, art of writing of the language that has already been changed. This was a big reason again. Yes, something more about the Caxton and the printing. The merchants were there, the diplomats were there. It was a time of prosperity. People were coming, people were trading, people were interacting with each other. So it was a time of merchants, it was a time of diplomats, where learned printing on the continent. They also learned different printing things on their own continent. Introduced the press in England in 1476 near Westminster Abbey. The word Westminster Abbey, it reminds me of a poem that was written by William Wordsworth. Perhaps you would have also gone through it. Yes. Then it also when printing press was invented, let's see that what were the things that they printed first. They printed Chaucer, they printed Gulliver, they printed Lydgate, they printed Mallory, they translated bestsellers from France and Burgundy. Yes, they started translating, they started printing, they started getting it published, they started making it accessible to all the readers, to all the lovers of literature and language. Yes, some Caxton's spellings. Not easy for a writer in the printer in 15th century to choose a version of English that would be acceptable to all the readers. Yes, a very important point. And the important words are that would be acceptable to all the readers. Yes, you know, it was a time of the emergence of English. English was in its emerging positions. It was emerging, it was coming out. It was rising at that time. Now when we say that it was a time of printing press, it was invented and it started getting published, the thing, and getting printing the things. Now what happened, as you know, that all the people did not understand the same English. There was a big confusion that what would they do, what kind of English are they going to use that would be acceptable, that would be readable and comprehensible by the English speakers. Caxton describes difficulties when he printed English for the first time. He found he had used strange terms. Yes, so, this is very he says that he has printed strange terms. Now for commercial reason, he used the spellings of the London East Midland dialects. Yes, a very important point. When he was worried that which thing should he choose or which thing should he leave, actually he came to one conclusion. He used the spelling of the London or the East Midland dialects. There was one dialect that we were saying that was rising. London was prosperous. London was the center of England. London had academia, intellectuals, the social and political activities, the royals, everything. So what did he do? He actually used the variety of English language that was spoken in London, and then East Midlands because it was quite then similar to them. So it was very rationalistic on the part of the printer to get the things published and make them commercialized. What was the reason for doing so, for using London dialect and Midlands dialect? The reasons being commercial one, the reasons being materialistic one, the reasons being that there are some money matters that were there. The people would buy more, because if more people would be able in a position to understand, so definitely they are going to more buy the books. Otherwise, if there would be very few speakers of a specific language, they are not going to buy a lot of range of the books. Caxton and standardization. Let's see that how Caxton and standardization they are mutually interlinked. For commercial reason, Caxton and other printers settled for the London English, privileging a dialect. So when one dialect, one regional variety of language, when it started being used in publishing press, in the press, so what happened? Definitely one is being used in the press, especially to access the people, and it is being acceptable by the people as well. So the reason is that one is being privileged, the others are coming down. The one being privileged, the one is getting benefit of being more powerful, of becoming a language. Now use some foreign typesetters confused by English spellings, silent E or not, often line length, Dutch influences were there, ghost, geese, at different spellings. Caxton modernized orthography, eliminated actually he modernized the orthography techniques, and he eliminated a few of the words from English phonemes, for example y, th and the. Eventually, printing had to fix the language on the page, sometimes forced a consensus, accounting for some oddities of English spellings. Yes, when things came in the hand of the people, they were, in a way, they were fixed. And there came a stop, and people stopped struggling for changing the language. People stopped doing them. Yes, and for a little period of time, they developed their consensus and the accounting for some oddities of English spellings. For example, right. These were different spellings. These were actually these were different spellings of the same word, and they have already been covered, and people have come to one consensus with this thing. There were some effects of the print as well. Printing made books available at a relatively low price, increased demand for books and literacy, especially among middle and the lower class. What happened? A drastic effect came with the printing of the press. Printing, it was made books available. It made the books available at a very cheap price to the people, and there was an increased demand for the books and literacy, especially among the lower and the middle classes. It was there was a great demand for that. In general, the middle classes did not have a classical education. They wanted books in English rather than the Latin or the French. Yes, as I was saying you that we have already discussed that English actually emerged out of this thing. It emerged, it rise from the middle class or from the lower class. The middle class wanted more books. The middle class wanted to read more of English rather than the Latin and the French, and to make Greek and Latin classics available to the people who only knew English, they were translated into English. Yes, most of the things were then started getting translating into English, another new aspect of language. Then translation led to the introduction of the thousands of loan words from Latin and Greek into English. Yes, when they started translating itself is a very rigorous process. It's a very difficult process. It needs a words, it needs a range of vocabulary, it needs a lot of words, and it needs actually the treasure of the vocabulary. Now what happened when they needed vocabulary? It leads to the introduction of the thousands of the loan words. There were thousands, there were numerous loan words that were taken from Latin and Greek, and they were made a part of English language. Now see that, let's look that translation that started being done in that age. That what were the effects of the translation at the time? Effects of translation in 15th century, there were lots of translation that was done, because perhaps just to make the people understand, just to make the people realize what was being published. There were lots of translation. For example, half-chewed Latin, we can say it. Yes. For example, the words like Hal, Stan, Spern, hail in Atan, the stars on high, in God's sight to shine, listen in dawn for to discern, be glory and grace divine, hold, modern, sumptrum, present, current, eternal. These are some of the words, some of the things that were translated into English from Latin and Greek. Then the rise of London Standard. Printed books made London English current and durable. English that was being published now, it was actually it was current, it was made available to the people, and it was durable. It was not changing day by day. It became stagnant actually for a little bit of time. It stopped evolving. By 16th century, in early modern English period, London English was prescribed. Yes, London English was prescribed. See, what does prescribed mean? Ye shall therefore take the usual speech of the court and that of London, and the shires lying about London, with miles and not much above. Yes, this was the English of that time that was used. It was prescribed means already there were defined rules and regulations for the language to grow and to develop, and to have a certain pattern. And it was actually a framework of the Latin that was already in use in Latin. They adapted it in the English, and it is still continuing. Complete uniformity never attained, even in vocabulary, let alone accents. Dialects even today, there are never ever the uniformity and the things was attained, but still the thing was that actually there was one major achievement, and this major achievement was that one dialect actually was made the standardized at the time. So this was the end of today's lecture. Let's see that let's have a quick recapitulation of the things and see that how Middle English has acquired a lot of changes, not only in its morphology but also in phonology and other syntactical structures as well. We started actually today's lecture with the formation of new words. Formation of new words, we told that there were the two main things. The first one was compounding. Compounding is a combination of compound words where the two words come close, they make a compound and then they create one meaning. And the beautiful example was that of cheesecake. Cheesecake is a one word. Cheese is noun and cake is a noun. Cheesecake makes noun plus noun, that's a compound, and it's a compound word. And this is how the new words are formed in compounding, by using hundreds of different combinations. Then the next was affixing. Within affixing, a few things were affixed with the main word. For example, prefixes, suffixes. Prefixes are those morphemes that come before the main word, and the suffixes are those words that come after the main word. So we have looked at a range of the prefixes and suffixes, and we got to know, yes, how these two things combine to create infinite number of words. We have also looked at some minor sources of the new words, and these were many. And then when we once finished our lecture about the formation of the new words, we moved on to the dialects, the Middle English dialects, and we have seen that Middle English dialect is it has come out of so many reasons. The first the thing that we have discussed is that of rise of London Standard. Firstly, it was rising up, and we have discussed that on one hand there was south, and on the other hand there was north, and in between there comes some midlands. And actually the midlands, the dialect of midlands, it was taken as something that was central, and it really made a huge contribution towards the development of current English. Then came another big thing that was a huge a huge development in not only in the history of English language but also in the history of England as well. It was the invention of Caxton, or the printing press. Actually, the first printing press was invented, and then it started getting printing the things. Different famous writers of the era were they were printed and they were published. It made the middle class to read more. The things started reaching to the middle class. Now there was one question at that time, that which thing are they going to publish, what language, what is the standard language that they are going to publish. So at that time, because as Oxford and Cambridge were the two universities were in power, they started, one of them was favoring some southern dialect, so they took this one as the London dialect, and they took this London dialect as the standard one, and they started getting published the literature in that language. It led first in the next step, it led towards the development of this thing, translation. For the translation, again, some loan words were used, loan words were needed, and there were different people who were there were different languages that have contributed and that have given loan words for it. So it had a lot of effects on the effects of the prints were there, effects of the translation were there. So we winded up today's lecture by looking at that how one dialect, that is London dialect, became standardized at that time, what were the major reasons, and what were the effects, the after effects of this thing. So with this, we end our lecture today here. I hope that it was comprehensible enough, and I hope you enjoyed reading with me. Please keep continuing. Please keep studying the things, and keep looking at the things. And I'll see you again in the next lecture. Till then, take good care, and Allah Hafiz.